She confessed to cheating, then smirked, saying she needed a real man. When my friends took her side, I didn't lose my temper. I simply walked away, leaving them all behind. And from a distance, I watched as their lives unraveled. This morning, I woke up to a flood of notifications, 32 missed calls, 45 unread messages, an avalanche of social media updates that made my stomach turn. But it wasn't the calls from my so-called friends or family that got to me. It was her, Sarah, 3 years together. And in a single night, everything we built came crashing down. It hadn't happened all at once. The signs were there, small at first, subtle shifts that seemed insignificant. Late nights at work became more frequent, but she'd always been dedicated to her career, so I ignored it. Then came the new perfume, one I didn't recognize. Clothes started appearing in our closet that I'd never seen her wear. But the biggest red flag? Her phone. It became an extension of her, always in her hand, always locked, always just out of reach. I never pried. I wasn't a jealous or possessive type, but something felt off. The way she tensed when I kissed her, the way she zoned out while texting, as if she was somewhere else entirely, the way she always claimed she was on work calls, but never let me hear a single word of them. Then, last Thursday, I saw it. I was on the couch, half watching TV, when her phone lit up on the coffee table. I didn't mean to look, but my eyes caught a glimpse of the message preview. I miss you already. Last night was... The rest was cut off, but I didn't need to see more. That was the moment everything became clear. That night, when Sarah came home, I didn't pretend anymore. She was in the kitchen, casually preparing dinner, as if nothing had changed. But I had changed. Leaning against the doorway, I asked the one question I already knew the answer to. "Who's Tyler?" She froze, just for a second. Her hands trembled before she set down the knife she was holding. Then she did something I wasn't prepared for. She smiled, but it wasn't the warm, familiar smile I had loved for years. It was cold, almost triumphant. "You caught me," she murmured, barely above a whisper. "Tyler's a guy I've been seeing for the past 2 months." The words landed like a punch to the gut. But what hurt more was her tone, casual, unapologetic. No guilt, no hesitation, just pride. "I needed more than what you could give me, Jacob," she continued, her voice sharp. "Tyler has ambition, a future. You've been stuck in the same routine for years." I didn't respond right away. I just stood there, letting her words sink in. 3 years together, and this was how she saw me? This was who I was to her? "Does Emma know?" I asked, thinking of the mutual friend who had introduced us. Sarah let out a dry laugh. "Oh, she knows. They all do." My stomach dropped. "Everyone knows, Jacob," she said, tilting her head. "They understand. Tyler actually has direction in life. You were just comfortable." I didn't feel anger, not even heartbreak, just a strange, chilling clarity. For the first time, I saw everything for what it really was. Our relationship, our friends, our so-called love, a facade. Something Sarah had simply outgrown. I pulled out my phone and opened the group chat with Emma and Ryan, 2 of my closest friends. I had to know, is this true? You all knew about Tyler. The replies came almost instantly. Too fast. Emma, "Look, you're a great guy, but Sarah needs someone who matches her energy. Don't take it personally." Ryan, "We didn't want to hurt you, man, but maybe this will be good for you in the long run. You'll find someone who really gets you." I stared at the screen, and for the first time in a long time, I saw the truth. My chest felt heavy with disappointment as I stared at my phone. Sarah was watching me, that same smug smile still tugging at the corners of her lips. She was waiting, expecting me to explode, to shout, to cause a scene. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled. Not forced, not fake, just real, without a word. I turned and headed for the bedroom, grabbing a duffel bag I always kept packed for emergencies. I stuffed in the essentials, laptop, keys, a few clothes. I refused to let her see me break. "Where are you going?" she called from the kitchen as I walked past. "Out," I replied, my voice steady. "Keep the apartment." I'm sure Tyler can help with the rent. I didn't wait for her response. I heard her yelling as I stepped out the door, but I wasn't listening. As soon as I was outside, I switched off my phone. The constant buzzing messages from her, from Emma and Ryan, didn't matter. Silence was the only thing I needed. 1 week later. It's been 7 days since I walked away. I've been staying at a small motel on the outskirts of town. Nothing fancy, but clean. The owner, an older guy named Pete, gave me a discount after hearing my story. He shook his head, muttering, "Tough break, kid, but you seem like someone who'll land on his feet." After 2 days of complete silence, I decided to turn my phone back on. 32 missed calls, 45 unread messages. Most were from Sarah. But what really caught my attention was a flood of notifications from social media. Sarah had been busy. Her Instagram painted a twisted version of our relationship. One where I was a controlling, jealous boyfriend who never let her live her life. She spun a story of emotional manipulation, claiming I isolated her from friends and threw fits whenever things didn't go my way. The comments were filled with sympathy, from people I once called friends. But the worst part? The video. Tearful, dramatic. She claimed I had financially abused her by making her split the bills evenly, conveniently leaving out the fact that it was her idea in the first place. Then came a message from Alex, a colleague I'd worked with for years. "Check your email. Something's going around the office about you." Sure enough, an HR email was waiting in my inbox. It was worded carefully, referencing concerns about workplace behavior. No names mentioned, but the timing wasn't a coincidence. Final update, the fallout. Here's how it all came crashing down. Within 48 hours of Sarah's post, both she and Tyler were asked to resign. But that wasn't the end of it. Turns out, Sarah had been collecting dirt on her co-workers for months, using it as leverage. When she fell, she took Tyler down with her. The company launched an internal investigation, fraudulent expense reports, misconduct, harassment claims. The affair? No one cared. But the damage they caused? That was a different story. The fallout was swift. Tyler lost everything. His job, his reputation, even his family cut ties. Sarah? Same fate. Her smear campaign against me backfired spectacularly. What she didn't know was that I had already forwarded her private messages to upper management. She assumed I'd just disappear. She was wrong. Did I ever get an apology? No, but I didn't need one. I moved forward, found a new place, and even got a promotion at work. Funny how cutting out toxic people makes everything better. I'm seeing someone new now, someone who actually values me. We're taking things slow, and it feels right. As for Sarah, she vanished. Her social media accounts are locked down. The friends who took her side are now left dealing with the mess they chose. Karma doesn't need your help. Sometimes, all it takes is distance, time, and the right mindset.